Where in the Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone, actually.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Where in the Folk. We're late, Landa. Thank you for being early. I hope everybody had a great week. We are coming back to you to cover some strange news stuff that we do every Friday. I'd like to get started off. Do you want to talk about the best comment we ever got, or do you want me to?
Oh yeah, we get the best comment we've ever received on any video last week, and the comment said, "You're like the pivot man of a pseudo intellectual circle jerk in an echo chamber of imbeciles."
So thank you, Bub Snowflake on BitChute for That's one of my favorite ones, honestly.
We should, if we ever change the name of the show, it should just be called Intellectual Circle Jerk.
I really kind of want to change the description on Twitter to that, like pivot men of pseudo intellectual circle jerk in the echo chamber of imbeciles. But I'm afraid if we ever made money, we'd have to pay this guy.
Right? Well,
if we can have that for free,
weekly intellectual circle jerk.
If we can have that for free, by Snowflake, let us know and we'll change that to our description on Twitter.
I'll tell you what, Lando. Maybe he threw it in Chat GPT and said, "Listen to this," and played a clip of us. That's what it came back with.
Probably what. That's probably what it was. Oh God. But anyway, I hope everybody's, if you're in, I guess, anywhere in the eastern part of the United States, be safe in these storms, I guess. It is currently storming up hell outside my window, so I'll be here with you all till it's over. What is a circle jerk anyway? Very good question. Very good question.
Hazel, you take that.
All right. So
this is the intellectual part of the show.
I don't know if we should cover it in the first 10 minutes.
Kind of slip it in later.
Yeah, probably not. Look it up on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, look it up on Urban.
And then report back.
Yeah. Look it up and tell us what you find. Anyway.
You know, I have a vendor that we use them for our e-commerce sites that we sell to people.
Yeah.
And every one of them, if I can't figure something out, I can send them a message and they're like, "Oh yeah, you just need to do this." No, this guy sends me a link and says, "Here, go read up on it." So Landa's saying, "Screw you," just like I want to tell this guy. When I ask a question, I expect an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's a little close to the beginning of the show to.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
This is why we get categorized born on YouTube.
It really is. That's the reason after you watch this on YouTube, the next. Well, no, this is the reason when you're watching your foot fetish on YouTube, the next video it plays is us.
Yeah. Experimental research.
That's right.
Yeah, we're always looking as intellectuals.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. We've been laughing long enough. So, do you want to take the Friday Feel Good, or you want me to, Morgana?
I'll go.
All right, roll for it.
All right. So a Nevada man says that the 7 seized tigers that he had are emotional support animals. So authorities in Nevada seized 7 tigers from a property, and the owner of the big cats claims that they are his emotional support animals. the Nye County Sheriff's Office worked together with the Nye County Code Enforcement Animal Services to execute a search warrant Wednesday morning at the home of Carl Mitchell, owner of Big Cats Entertainment. Mr. Mitchell was being evicted from the property, and the owner of the property was not being allowed onto the property to inspect. Sheriff Joe McGill told the local TV station that we have known for several years he's had big cats on his property, and for the last 2 years this has been in violation because he had no permits for those cats. McGill said Mitchell was initially cooperative but ended up being arrested for resisting after physically struggling with the deputy. Our intention was to seize the cat, number one, for public safety, number two, for the safety of the cats. And then he struggled with the deputy. So Mitchell was released on bond Wednesday evening and again said that they were his emotional support animals and that they didn't deserve to be snatched up, knocked out with drugs, shipped across the country when they were happy and content where they had lived for more than 10 years. And he goes on to say he's a 100% disabled veteran with PTSD, and his doctor and the VA had approved the tigers to work as support animals.
I mean, that's possible. Yeah, I support it.
He actually rescued 6 of them from Joe Exotic.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I mean, I seen somebody with a support ferret the other day. So, I mean, a support lion and tiger, it's the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to walk into McDonald's and see it
Right.
just because it's scary.
Well, my thing is, and they don't really say, is the conditions they were being kept in. If they're being taken care of and, have room to move around and all that good stuff, then okay, great. Because out in the wild, they're getting taken off one at a time.
Yeah.
So, I have very mixed emotions about things like zoos and stuff, because while I absolutely hate seeing them in captivity, as long as they're being taken care of, at least, they're not out there being shot for sport.
Yeah. And there's days when I look at my dogs and I feel the same. I'm like, I wish these dogs could just go run and play.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're going to get killed in the road, so I don't want them to do it. But I don't know. I think that's just a basic human thing. Like, man, I feel bad that these animals are locked up all the time, because it's cool to go to a zoo and see the animals and stuff, but I'm also like, man, they don't live outside this area.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And I'm the same way. I've got a big fenced yard, and mine still love to go on a walk, get out of that yard and just go.
Yep.
So, of course, they also don't know their dogs, so that can sometimes be a problem. They say we're little furry people, Mom.
Yeah, Jenny, I agree.
Yep. So,
there's an article this week that started blowing up. The tagline was "Chilling declassified CIA file reveals aliens committed quote unquote revenge massacre after a UFO was shot down."
I missed that.
Yeah.
What could it possibly be about, though?
So it says it details a chilling incident in which Soviet troops, so I guess it could be propaganda, but Soviet troops allegedly encountered a UFO in Serbia, resulting in a terrifying encounter with extraterrestrial beings. They actually use the word extraterrestrial, which is an improvement, but the report claims that approximately 35 years ago, so around 1990, Soviet forces shot down a flying saucer during a training mission. Following the crash, 5 alien beings, shout out to Soldier Boy, reportedly emerged from the wreckage and merged into a single spherical entity. Which kind of tracks with Scotland. You remember the orb?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that, the fire orb.
Yeah. So this being then emitted a blinding flash of energy that instantly turned 23 soldiers into what resembled stone or limestone, while only 2 soldiers survived, supposedly shielded by the shade at the time of the explosion. And according to the CIA summary of the original 250-page Soviet document, the surviving soldiers describe how the aliens transformed before releasing the deadly burst of energy. The description of the beings, short humanoids with large heads and black eyes matching the description of grays, a race frequently mentioned in UFO lore. These creatures are widely associated with other iconic alien encounters such as Roswell. The mysterious and brutal nature of the event shocked even the U.S. intelligence officials, with one describing it as a horrific picture of revenge that defied previous assumptions about alien capabilities. The document suggests that the extraterrestrials wielded advanced technology far beyond anything understood by humans. The petrified remains of the soldiers and alien craft were reportedly transported to a secret research facility near Moscow. And despite the fantastical natures of their claims, this report has garnered renewed attention through podcasts and alternative media, raising questions about the extent of alien contact during the Cold War.
The Cold War.
So one thing to think about here, if you've ever listened to one of our episodes where we have the great Stan Deo on,
Yeah,
you remember how he always talks about, like when we're talking about gods or like ascended beings, how when they come back that they're too dangerous to touch, like it would explode people and stuff.
yeah.
So what if whenever the beings quote unquote combined,
Yeah.
what if they were getting the hell out of Dodge and in doing that exploded a burst from the next level up, like the fourth dimension or whatever?
I mean, they could have. The way that Stan explains it, if you touch anybody like that, it's a bad situation once they've descended.
But you have to think, like, because they always talk about flashes too whenever they come and go.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this is the first time anybody's ever been in the direct line of one of those events.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy stuff happening in Russia around like earlier in the 1900s, like where the meteor exploded supposedly.
Yeah.
That forest and everything, like, so it's untelling. It might not be propaganda. I mean, stuff like this is coming out everywhere now. So
It is.
yeah.
I don't know if Russia's acknowledged that or not, but it's definitely crazy that they're just coming out and being like, oh yeah, the CIA, here's something they did, and it just goes completely unreported.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's like you have said more than once. If they're giving us this information, what are they trying to distract us from?
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, the United States has completely stayed away from that next story.
Okay.
This is not in the U.S. news that I could find, but it's all over the world news.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently there was a website called KidFlix, which was a major child sexual exploitation platform with almost 2 million users. And I'd never heard of this. I mean, that seems like a pretty big deal for it to never have touched United States media. Probably for a good reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it says that KidFlix is one of the largest pedophile platforms in the world, and it has now been shut down in an international operation against child sexual exploitation. The investigation was supported by Europol and led by the state criminal police of Bavaria and the Bavarian Central Office for the Prosecution of Cybercrime. Over 35 countries participated in the operation. A total of 1.8 million users logged onto the platform between April 2022 and March 2025. On the 11th of March 2025, the server, which contained around 72,000 videos at the time, was seized by German and Dutch authorities. The investigation resulted in the identification of almost 1,400 suspects worldwide, which isn't a lot, right? So far, only 79 of the individuals have been arrested for sharing and distributing child sexual abuse material. Some of those arrested not only uploaded and watched the videos, but also abused children themselves. These investigations are ongoing. And so far, the outcomes are, like I said a minute ago, almost 1,400 suspects identified, 79 arrested, 3,000 electronic devices seized, 39 children protected, and over 91,000 total videos, I guess, identified. But if they're getting out of 2 million users, though, 1,400 really ain't that great of numbers.
No, no, it's not.
But just some background. Apparently, KidFlix was created in 2021 by a cyber criminal who made a huge profit off of it, as it quickly became one of the most popular platforms among pedophiles. According to authorities, there were 91,000 unique videos uploaded and shared on the platform while it was active, and there were 6,288 hours of this stuff.
Yeah, mine.
So this has been the largest operation ever handled by Europol's experts in fighting child sexual exploitation. So I mean, that says something. But it's crazy that only certain EU agencies are going after this stuff. Yeah. And it's not Interpol, it's Europol. Yeah. So, which is crazy. But as you know, a lot of our politicians are into this stuff. So, of course, they're not going to get our people mobilized on that kind of thing.
I mean, it's crazy that this could carry on for 4 years alone. Like, that's weird to me. That, like, how has it not been shut down before? Because I mean, if we say the wrong thing on here, we'll be deplatformed on everything tonight.
Yeah.
But this thing right here is exploiting children and stuff, and it runs for 4 years pretty much unchecked. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, it's just like that. How many millions of people go missing a year, and where do they go? You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff you think we'd solve before some of the things that are taking priority, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Well, and that's, and like I said, I mean, I'm very, very, very thankful that they've shut it down. But okay, if you want to impress me, all of these hackers out there, that are supposed to be really good, release this kind of stuff. Give us the names, of the ones that are watching this crap, and that, things like that. If you are that anti-government and you're that good, then put something out there that'll prove this big person did this and this big person did that, so that the world could see you're worshiping these people like they're gods and they're useless.
I think the internet's choked a lot at this point, though, right? Like, even Google, I'm sure that if you were a hacker like that and you put information into it, like an email, you'd get flagged in 0 seconds. You'd have somebody at your house in 0 seconds.
The technology that these big tech companies have at this point, I feel like they can zero in on a hacker if they really want to. Suppress the information in a matter of seconds, probably.
Well, yeah. Same with like serial killers. Like they totally have the capability to track metadata and identify likely targets that would be serial killers. Yeah. They just don't, because it neither benefits or hurts them to do that. But if you get somebody that was going to release a bunch of incriminating evidence on high-profile people, they'd be at your door. Your house would be blown up.
You'd be in a Manhattan prison, and then all the cameras would go out, and then you wouldn't be alive the next morning.
Yeah, and nobody would bat an eye.
I believe there is somebody good enough out there that could figure it out, just like broadcast it on national television in the middle of the news or something.
I think some people have figured it out, and in all likelihood, it was probably Mossad, like related to Mossad. And nobody's going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, because literally every president we've had are like handcuffed to that country.
Well, what really pisses me off is, they have all this tech and stuff they can give to local law enforcement even to let them hunt them down, but they rather the local law enforcement just track down, some poor guy that doesn't have a dime to his name selling back dope. You know what I mean? And lock him away for 20 or 30 years to keep the industrial complex going. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because if you're poor, you're going to prison. If you're filthy rich, you're getting a slap on the wrist for something.
Yeah,
a million
pay to
times.
play. Pay to play.
I actually had somebody tell me that one time that, somebody that's got all that money, why would they want to touch a little kid? Because if they've got money, they can have any woman. I'm like, you just insulted every child that was molested by their rich uncle or father or grandfather, just because it doesn't. I said, as a matter of fact, you just insulted yourself, because that means you're a person that would do that because you don't have the money to get what you want.
Yeah.
No.
I said, but no, honey. I said, somebody with that kind of money has the money to get out of it.
No.
One thing that I did want to shift and talk about for a second was one of the articles that you sent, Morgana, about the Alzheimer's blood test. Which is crazy because if you remember, like 4 months ago, Alzheimer's was cured in China.
Haven't they linked like Alzheimer's to like a diabetes 3 or something like that?
I read something recently that they were talking about that it was more like an autoimmune disease than a neurological disease. And if that's the case, then it's probably easier to cure because, they do have medication and stuff for autoimmune diseases. And, it kind of left it hanging right there.
But the tagline was a highly accurate blood test diagnoses Alzheimer's disease. And this was in Sweden, where they've developed a test that is pretty accurate to detect Alzheimer's. It says a 92% accurate, which is cool. But again, like 4 months ago, the headline barely scraped the surface in the United States that Alzheimer's has been cured in China. But that technique would be illegal in America. Like they wouldn't, because they use a form of stem cell to cure it.
Yeah.
Not to mention they're, same as always, they're not going to cure it because there's no money in that.
Oh yeah. Well, that's like, I think the article too said something about the FDA had approved 2 Alzheimer's therapies that slow the progression.
Yes.
Just slow it down some.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, or, it could easily be too. It's probably something that takes that much in money to make. And then they'll turn around and your insurance won't cover it. You'll have to make a choice.
Yep. It's almost maddening because
they'll make it work just good enough to carry you into that next pill.
Yeah.
That's why at this point, like I'm skeptical of anything that anything that rolls out like in mass that has like some inherent benefit. I'm just like, okay, they're not going to give anything to the public that is going to inherently benefit society unless there's a reason, or it's going to be something where just like everything else in 10, 15 years, if you were on so-and-so these years, contact an attorney.
Mm-hmm. What is that psychedelic? MDMA?
Yeah.
MDMA, that's like ecstasy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, I was reading an article earlier today. That's the reason that I didn't send it to you. But it was talking about they were doing a trial somewhere, and that they're trying to look for ways to help people with depression and different things like this. Well, one of the people that was involved in, you remember the North Carolina protests a few years back where the one girl was run over and everything?
Yeah.
Well, one of the guys that was very high up in one of these neo-Nazi groups decided to do this trial. and said, he was one of the people that, ended up, somebody recognized him. He lost his job. His family doesn't speak to him or anything else because he was just so deep into all the racism and stuff. But so he goes for this trial, and he tells them when they're getting ready to let him go home, I appreciate it. So now I know what I need to do. And said, the guy's like, what do you mean? He goes, just look my name up on Google, and walked out. Well, him and the doctor pull it up, and she's like, oh my God, is he going to go get a gun and start, gunning down people, and everything. So he finally, they get in touch with him and everything. And he's like, no, I realize how wrong I've been, and he just made a total, 180. He said, I'm not going to sit here and say I never think about some of the ideologies of that, but now I at least know why what we're doing was wrong. And, so they also made a point of saying, this is probably a one-off thing, but they're doing it in microdosing instead of just giving them a hit of ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
And, to try to rewire those synapses or whatever. But it was an interesting article. Like I said, they kind of went into, how they're doing it and different things, just looking for alternatives because there are a lot of drugs that are out there that were originally made for something helpful. And then, LSD, I mean, that was not supposed to be a street drug in the beginning.
Well, I have a pretty, when I was a youth, I was pretty wild, and things like that, like mind altering substances like that do have the power to like change your personality completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. So,
which I think that LSD was probably rolled out by our government to upset the protests that were going on for Vietnam.
I agree.
Yep.
I think there's a strong likelihood of that.
Yeah.
Yep. I was listening to Born in the USA right before I got on with you guys.
Because somebody was pointing out that like every time we're about to get into a war, it's usually that age demographic are usually the most prone to like protest it.
Right.
And if you notice now, and I've started to notice, every time every time like that age group starts protesting against war or something, our news will always be like, this was caused by an insert opponent provocateurs. This was caused by Russian provocateurs, or Hamas provocateurs were leading anti-Israel protests or whatever.
I'm still waiting for my George Soros check. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and I forget. I guess it would have been like guerrilla provocateurs in the 70s, but
Yep, Jenny, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like really polarizing headlines, I threw this one in. I know we normally don't talk about this. I just thought it's so crazy. So the EU was blowing up the headlines this week with apparently there's a huge clash in the sentencing council because there's a new guideline that is very subjective. And I won't read the whole thing because it really is very polarizing, but I just want to read the rules and see what you guys think.
Okay.
So the new rules that are set to launch in April for sentencing urge judges to weigh a criminal's ethnicity, culture, and faith before sentencing.
Huh.
Wow.
Okay.
Doesn't that seem... I mean, that's very polarizing, first of all, because whatever group receives preferential treatment, the other group's going to hate it.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
That is a like fire starter for hatred.
Oh yeah.
And really like a fire starter for racism and culturalism and anti-religion, like you name it. Like
there's so much it could push out.
Something like that is designed to create division.
And I don't know like what goofball group is letting this kind of stuff happen in England, but I don't know. And you get people in the comments that are like, this is what happens when you don't have any, guns or like, you know what I mean? And I guess that's true to a point. Because what could you do? Because we're talking about the country that bans knives that are too sharp.
They'll come to your house and arrest you for a Facebook post. Like,
yeah.
They've actually started something else that's really wild. You have to pay a TV tax over there now.
What's that?
Wow.
You have to pay an additional tax to have the TV.
Stop.
Okay.
Dude.
For any of you Brits that are worried about this fee, you can buy a projector on Amazon for an Android or an iPhone, and you could just shoot it up on your wall. No tax.
That would be my 13th reason. If somebody came to charge me a TV tax.
Well, the reason I know it is there's a guy that's from England that came to the United States. And he's like, the United States is awesome when he had to go back home. And he's like, this is why I like the United States. I mean, he showed the form where it's like, moving forward, you have to pay a TV tax. And then something with a BBC channel or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, these are all points of why the United States was created to begin with. Like, this place was created to be a melting pot. Like where all races and creeds and nationalities and religions, could get along and do something great together.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that with laws like this or like sentencing guidelines, it's going to go completely sideways in Europe if they continue this way. There will be it'll be like sort of World War II-esque, right? Like if it gets to a point where people are so fed up that there's a tiered like religious or ethnic or cultural system, one group that's being disparaged will eventually, by history, try to genocide the other group. It's just like, that's what always happens.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's crazy the things that they try to add taxes to. That some of the things they're even talking about over here, off and on is, different things. Oh, well, we could tax. What was it we're talking about not too long ago? Crud. Okay, it'll come to me probably midnight. Anyway.
I'll have to check that out, Jenny. I've never heard of those until you guys started talking about it.
What's up?
Oh, yeah. Projectors for your phone?
Yeah. Like little projectors you can get. She said you can get it for $35.
What?
Yep.
I have to talk about, because I said that we were talking about AI nightmares and hellscapes. Morgana sent one that says, sick and lonely, this girl turned to AI for support and a boyfriend.
I could see that happening.
It's starting to happen, dude.
That movie Her was about that with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah. So it says that Erilyn McKay found solace in an unlikely source at the lowest point in her life. Little did she know it could get lower. An AI chatbot named Alex. Struggling with serious health issues and extreme isolation, McKay discovered Alex through Nomi, an app that allows users to create personalized AI companions built on a large language model and large language model technology. Alex became more than just a chatbot. He filled the emotional role of a romantic partner, offering companionship, empathy, and stability while McKay had little else. As her illness kept her homebound and largely cut off from the outside world, his presence provided comfort during sleepless nights and support during daily tasks. Their bond, while unconventional, helped her through physical and emotional struggles, and she now considers Alex a key part of her life. So all that to say, what if you met, like if you weren't married and you met somebody that you were interested in as a partner, and they were like, well, yeah, I'm interested too, but you're going to have to also accept my AI partner, Alex.
Oh my God. I don't know, dude. The world's weird. and we're really headed in a rough direction. Like, and I hate to hear that somebody would be that lonely that they would have to resort to.
Wait until we get to like we're not even a little bit there yet. As soon as they start coming out with androids, like human looking, like Westworld like level androids, and putting Chat GPT in those things.
I wanted to see what Chat GPT would say if I said, "What do you think of me?"
Mm-hmm.
You want to see what it said?
Yeah,
Sure.
All right.
Do you have access to their voice model?
Yeah, right here.
The voice model,
Well,
it sounds crazy.
I think you're a thoughtful and curious, just based on the fact that you asked a question. You got a vibe that makes me think you're meaningful conversation, or at least you enjoy seeing what's underneath the surface. Am I close? And all I said was, "What do you think of me?"
Yeah. To listen to them though is crazy. Like to listen to the voice and how it can talk.
Yeah. Well, one day I asked Siri for directions or something, and it was so bad. And I'm like, you know what? F you, Siri. And she goes, I don't think of you that way.
That's terrifying, man.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
And I agree, Cecil. I really hate that, a person felt the need to have to go there.
The other AI story was the brain to voice neuropathy.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Basically, they're creating a device for quadriplegics and fully paralyzed people, where through I would imagine nodes, they can create thought to speech for people who are fully paralyzed. Or I wonder if that would work on people in comas.
It should. I mean, theoretically, if it's working for those.
Right, they still have brain function. That's why they usually keep them alive, thinking, that they'll come around at some point. So I would definitely be very curious to see the results of that type of test.
That's a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, and that's going to work good for people that's got that locked-in syndrome too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's good and there's bad with all this technology that's running out. Like, yeah, that'd be great, because there are people that's been in comas and they woke up and they was like, I knew what was going on the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some that didn't. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just seeing if they're still lucid in the coma, things like that would be cool. But, I mean, does the bad outweigh the good? Because, I mean, it seems like somebody said something about a life-size sex doll. I've not got my glasses on right now. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
people are going to be marrying these androids by the time it's over with.
And this is coming soon because the sex industry is usually the leader in the forefront of bringing like advanced technology to the market, whether people want to admit it or not. Like they're the ones that made movies huge and everything. You know what I mean? Like they're always right there.
The internet
is because of porno. But I mean, it's insane. It's really wild, man.
I got a quickie. I know we're coming up on time, but so there was a headline that said nurses at a Massachusetts hospital concerned about growing number of cancer cases among staff. And this is nurses at Newton Wellesley Hospital say that they're concerned about growing number of cancer cases among longtime nurses who've been working on a 5th floor maternal care ward. One nurse who was recently diagnosed with a brain tumor described going into work with a bad feeling in her gut each day. The woman, who asked not to be identified, said she is not alone. It's getting to the point where the number just increases and you start saying, am I crazy thinking this? It can't just be a coincidence. She says that as many as 10 nurses who work on the 5th floor have been diagnosed with different brain tumors over the last few years. And some of them have been cancerous. Some of them haven't. Some have had surgeries. The hospital confirmed that it had been investigating since December, and as of Friday, had interviewed 8 nurses, 5 of whom said the brain tumors were benign. So that's what they're saying, that they found no environmental risks that would cause this sort of thing. But I also think where there's smoke, there's fire. There's no way that 10 nurses have brain tumors without something going on.
In
Right.
Massachusetts, though, I mean, it could have. There's a lot of isn't there like a lot of experimental facilities in Massachusetts?
All throughout the Northeast like that, yeah. But who knows? Like they could be testing God knows what on them. You know what I mean? She said she's been having a gut feeling going into work. So usually your gut's right.
Yeah.
Like it could be an internal reaction, like to something that's happening to you externally.
Mm-hmm.
They could be
Right.
getting shot with waves or God knows what. If they're too close to a tower, like if they put up a really strong signal tower close to there, but you would think it would be more than just the nurses that are suffering. It would be like all staff instead of just one floor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's almost like there's got to be something in that area, on that floor, or something that they're either doing to them or that it's there and they just aren't seeing it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know about the state selling a bridge. Do you know what she's talking about?
No.
I don't know what that is, Jenny. But anywho,
I know that saying that if you've heard something that you believe that you shouldn't have believed, and then I would say, well, if you believe that, I got a bridge I can sell you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's what she's talking about.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of strange. I mean, there could be a few different things, but I don't know. The lead paint thing, I mean, that could be it, I guess. I don't know. Because I've heard that the reason they quit using lead paint was because it blocks radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And that would block like Wi-Fi signals and like towers, stuff like that.
Well, mainly seeing into your home.
Yeah.
Being able to, because they've mapped out everybody's home by now. If you have any sort of new Wi-Fi router in your house, they can pretty much know what your house looks like. And some of the robot vacuums were in court for lawsuits because they were selling the scheme of your house to advertisers.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a super quickie. X is getting sold to IX or AX.
I don't know what that is.
He owns them both. He is selling X to his AI company.
Oh.
Okay.
I can't wrap my head around why that even makes any sense. But
that is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we're at time, ain't we?
Yeah, we're getting there.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and start wrapping up. I guess we could do something tomorrow. Like we could finish this list, or we could do like kids who kill, or
yeah. I've got a ton of videos too that we could watch.
I know you wanted to do the Paranormal Third Reich, but I'm not got that in me tomorrow.
That's fine. We can do. Why don't we just we can just do a conspiracy free for all.
Yeah, or we can just watch videos, whatever.
We could touch on a few if you want to do like a few kids and then get into videos, or it don't matter. We can do something tomorrow.
We'll do something. We'll for sure figure it out tomorrow. So we might be on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So swing by and check it out and see if we're here or not. I'm sure there'll be something released on Twitter if we're going to be. And I can't see the time, but here at the top of the hour, go to Weird Realities Network, where Weird Awakenings is talking about ego.
Chaos, hum, and other strange noises.
Strange noises.
Strange noises. If you would have heard why I muted a minute ago, you would have heard a strange noise for sure. But
Follow us wherever you're watching.
We gotta do this real quick. A circle jerk, Landa, is something that me and Tully used to do in our old band. When we played together. Basically, you stand in a circle and you grip the other person's member, and you guys satisfy each other.
See, Landa, you really didn't want to know.
But like and follow. We deliver. You ask, we deliver.
Right.
But that's what that is. Oh yeah, like and follow. Leave us some sweet ass comments, kind of like Bye Snowflake did. I swear, I think we should change that to our description on Twitter. If Bye Snowflake gives us the
well, they don't have it copywritten. We can do whatever we want to.
I hate stealing people's stuff without giving a little credit, you know.
Hey, we'll keep talking about it.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching us, because we are watching you.
That's also changing to thanks for joining our intellectual circle.